What's up, creeps? It's Jason. Of course, it's J to K, and we're back for another Crypt Cut. And yes, for everybody keeps telling me, I know you can't see this up here. I know we have a light issue. Look, we're idiots, okay? We don't know how to set up lighting, so I know there's a reflection, but it says Creepcast. If I don't know, one day we'll figure it out. So
Probably.
I've had like 12 people tell me, like, it's a big glare. Or I'm like, I got it. I know. So
We're back.
we're back, and look, today, what are you going to get today? You're going to get a top 3 films. Now, this is us.
Yeah.
Us, but this is kind of cool because this is a conversation piece. Top 3 films that turns you into a horror fan, and I say 3 because I think, I don't know if there's ever just one film you're like, whoop, that was it. Fuck, I'm a horror fan now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think you got to like, ooh, that was good. Let me see another one. Oh, that got me. Then by the third one, you got it, man.
Right, and I think the fun thing about this question is it's super interactive.
Yes.
So this one, like you said, stirs up conversation. You love going back and forth with people. We love arguing.
I love it. I don't know why. Because I'm old. I'm old.
Get off my lawn.
Yes. So this is a big thing for you guys. That in the comments below, I want to hear your 3 films. 3 films. What got you into horror? And all that. Because okay. Let me start off here. I'm an '80s kid. I've said this 1,000 times on the show. Unless you just first popped on, I'm old as shit. But I was a kid and a teenager in the '80s. Which, man, I got lucky. When it comes to being a horror fan, I got fucking lucky, man. Because
bangers.
Yeah, that was the golden era, man. Right. So, so all my films, I'm telling you right now, are in that decade.
In the 80s?
Well, 70s and 80s and all that stuff, right? So
I think mine are too. I think.
Okay. Well, that's the cool thing because like you're a generation behind me, right? You're way younger than I am, but it's still the impact of the 80s horror movies, right? The 70s and 80s horror movies are in fucking full effect.
Right, and I was always proud to say, I mean, I was born in the 80s just because the 80s is such an incredible decade for horror. And it doesn't matter what you were into, too, what subgenre. If you were in the slashers or something like that, mystery, ghost story type shit. Like there was something for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, well, I'll kick things off. Why make you guys wait? So my number 3, real quick, is the 1982 Poltergeist, right? Which I never forget. Now, guys, when this thing came out, I was about 10 years old, okay? And I think I'm from West Virginia. Films got a little bit slow to get into the West Virginia time frame, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sorry, I know that may shock people. We weren't big budget. We weren't at L.A., red carpet. No. But not only that, you only really saw mainstream movies in the theaters, right? You'd have to go to a drive-in or something like that, right? And we had one theater that would do like old, kind of the more grindhousey and all that stuff, right? But doesn't matter. I got to see these. I never forget. The kid came out. I was like 10, 11 years old. My neighbor came up to the door, and it was, I don't know when, it had to be close to fall or winter because I remember it being cold, right? And I get there, and he comes up to my door, and I open it. It's about 8 o'clock at night, and he had just white as a ghost. I'm like, what's up? He goes, I saw Poltergeist. And I'm like, and I looked at him, he goes, can I spend a night? Like, he's scared to death, right? And I'm like, fuck. So immediately next weekend, I'm like, I got to go see this thing. And I got in to see it. And once again, I snuck in. It was PG, I believe, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I got in and watched it in the theater. Fuck this. Dude, it destroyed me, man.
The most horrifying thing I've ever seen PG on a big
screen.
Oh,
my God, man. But I was like in love. My heart was in my throat the whole time. And I'm just like, this is horror?
Yeah, there's so much to love about that movie, by the way.
Fuck.
First of all, that clown. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, to the point to this day, that clown is the most terrifying clown in the world to me, right?
People see it here and they're like,
yeah,
dude,
we have a reproduction here
that clown.
and in the audience room. It's fucking frightening. But everything about that movie was just written well, produced well, and it's just good general fun scares, man. You know what I'm saying?
And Tobe Hooper, baby.
And Tobe Hooper, that's right. So Poltergeist, yeah, you led the charge for me to be a horror fan. All right, what's your number 3?
I'm glad you led the charge with Poltergeist because I'm gonna take that and turn it into The Changeling. That was a big.
Oh wow.
That was a big one for me, man.
Wow.
That was credit to
I didn't see that coming.
My grandmother, man. So she was a big horror fan, believe it or not, and just the mainstream stuff, not like deep cut. She wasn't watching Dead Alive or anything, but she was so right. But The Changeling was a big one, man. And I first saw The Exorcist 3, which I go to bat for here. Like, I love that movie so much. And George C. Scott's performance in The Exorcist 3, I just remember finding out what he did outside of that because I was so obsessed with him.
Sure.
And I found The Changeling, and my grandmother got it, so we were watching it, and that was like the prototypical haunted house movie.
Yeah.
Everything I want in a haunted house movie, that is the epitome of it.
I loved it. You're right. I totally forgot about that movie almost. Man.
Right. And so there's so much nightmare fuel throughout that shit too. Ooh. Like you're talking about that bedroom scene with like the music box and like the attic, the cobwebs, by the way, which are fantastic.
Yeah, very atmospheric and
incredibly
just a fun horror movie, if you ask me.
And it pairs, the horror with a mystery type thing. It's like the kids trying to communicate through the house.
Yep.
But just one of my favorite movies of all time, man. It's just a comfort movie. It makes me feel like I'm young again, like I'm just finding horror for the first time.
I'm glad you said comfort movie because I can throw that on any time of day, any time of the year, and that's a fun movie, right?
You call it all the time Midnight Spook Show?
Yes. That's a Midnight Spook Show.
The atmosphere just
100%.
For sure.
This is hard because I have a lot of movies that now that I'm older, I was like, oh, that had to get me into it. But and the Changeling would definitely be on that list. But I guess we got to narrow it down to 3. So, all right.
2 haunted house movies, though.
Yes.
So far, I like that.
Yes, very well. I love this. So, all right. Now we're out of haunted houses, man. We're getting to some shit right here. My number 2 it has to be the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? And the reason this, because like everybody had the mom and pop video store, right?
Yep.
I had the Video Barn. I think it was the only video store in my town, small town, right, West Virginia, and it was a 2-story. Upstairs was the horror section, right, and it was kind of neoned out. And it was this fucking horror movie posters. There's always Freddy Krueger standees and stuff like that out there,
right?
But you didn't really know what was going on as a kid. Once again, this time I'm probably the same time. I'm probably about 10, 11. A lot of shit happened at 10, 11 years for me, right? I mean, that was I think that was the time I broke out and went into the horror world. But I was at the video store and I think I was looking for like E.T., right? Or some shit, right? I mean, once again, 80s guys, right? Phone Home, which is a terrifying movie, by the way. Like, Spielberg, you fuck.
Yeah.
The guy, I never forget, the worker guy came up there. He's probably my age now, but just looked like shit, right? I'm sure I look like shit, but anyway, right? But and he's up there and he was kind of starting to scare me, right? And he's like, "What are you looking for, kid?" I'm like E.T. or like Never Ending Story or some shit. And he goes, "Check this out," and he grabs it. He grabs Texas Chainsaw Massacre off the shelf, right? The box art. This one, I think it was a clamshell as well.
Oh, nice.
And he goes, "You ever seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?" And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I look at my older brother, who's the one who was buying, right? Old enough to buy or rent the movies. And I looked at him, and he's like, "You want it? I'll get it." I'm like, yeah. And I never forget. Went back home. I live in a place where I have basements. I don't know. We're in Arizona. We don't have basements here, right?
Yeah,
which is weird. But
basements are the best part to watch a movie.
Oh, fuck, man. I went down there, popped it in the VHS machine by myself and watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre at probably about age 11. Fuck. I was just like, this is the most horrifying movie. I thought it was real, right? I mean, they tell you based on a true story, right? And that's when I believed it all the time, man. But
what do you even do after watching that for the first time?
Oh, fuck. I slept with my lights on. There's no doubt. I think I went upstairs, and it wasn't late, so it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like hanging around mom and shit. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just want to hang out,
right.
with all the lights on. Let's go." Because I was scared to death, man. And but also thrilled to death, right? So like that scared me, but it also fucking gave me some type of weird energy inside. Like, ooh, I'm leaning out. I think I'm going to put away all the fucking GI Joes and all the bullshit I was getting to, and I'm starting to lean into more. Grab that Fangoria magazine. I'm not quite there yet. One more, I'm close. But all right, what's your number 2?
Really quick, I have to ask you.
Yes.
Did the Video Barn have the beaded curtains?
Fuck yeah, they did.
Okay.
They had the beaded curtains. They had, the 18 plus fun section and all that. Which
I missed those.
Oh man, which you would do anything as a kid to sneak in there just to see some boobs or something on the covers.
Right.
Debbie Does Dallas, and you're just like, fuck.
That's what I wanted to see. Like, what's the titles of these movies?
Oh my god, yeah.
I was more intrigued by that.
I agree. Taboo and all this weird shit, right? So yeah.
Number 2 for me, man. American Werewolf in London. So this one for me, there was no movie that scarred me more as a kid than this movie.
Yes.
It absolutely terrified me. There was moments where I could not sleep. Like I would be up all night long, lights on, just petrified, dude.
Dude, I wouldn't even open a curtain anymore. Remember the curtain scene?
Hello? Have you been up long?
I've just had a nightmare.
Not to worry, I've just the thing.
Fuck
Yeah.
that right. That jump scare was is definitely in my top 5 jump scares of all time. Right. That thing scared the shit out.
I wasn't even afraid of going to the hospital. I didn't know about just nothing. Dude.
Right.
But this movie, man, like it also expanded my possibility to like just effects. I think this movie kind of opens the portal, like because the transformation scene is probably one of my favorite scenes in horror.
Rick Baker, baby.
Oh my god, is he incredible?
It's just insane.
Multi-talented, by the way. Yeah. Disgusting.
Well, that and I think the characters were rad because it's almost the first time that for me, because I could have put this in my top 3 at any time, right?
Sure.
This is a guy. I don't know why I forgot about this one, but like it was like they're likable characters. And then when they introduced weird humor, when you got rotting corpses, you're just like, I think I'm laughing at this, but am I laughing at this?
The cool thing about it was like I feel like it's not a family movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like growing up, at least where I was coming from, there was a lot of people that were like families that were watching this movie.
Yes.
And I think it was just, again, another portal to just some deeper cuts out there. But this movie to start with, man, it'll fucking scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, great movie. And stands up the test of time to today, right? Which is rad, man. You can show this to a 10-year-old right now. Probably like, what's bad parenting? Whatever. Kids are fine.
The only werewolf movie that's come close since then is the one that Jason actually opened my eyes to, which was Dog Soldiers. So if
which is another amazing one.
You guys want some vicious werewolves?
Yeah, those are my 2 top favorite werewolf movies. Yes, sorry, Universal Monsters, but come on, man, right? Great. American Werewolf in London. Fuck the goat. Or the wolf. All right, whatever. Yeah.
What do you got? Take us on one.
All right, number 1, man. My number 1, and this once again, this has to do with my 10, 11-year-old time frame. And it also has to do, I told you, if you want to see movies like this, you got to go to a drive-in. And particularly, I went to the Jungle Drive-In to watch Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. Now, this was my first Friday the 13th, right? Like, I've heard about it because, when the first one came out, was it 80, I think it was? I was 8. You're not going to go see this, or whatever. And then Part 2 immediately after. And I've heard about it, but there was no, like, it wasn't like as popular was today because there was no mask, right? It was just Jason as a mangled kid, and then Sackhead Jason, right? Which wasn't like it wasn't as deep as obviously Jason is today. But Friday the 13th Part 3 playing in 3D, I'm like, fuck, I like 3D. I'm like, I'm gonna see 3D. So I remember watching this, and I was in the back of a pickup truck in the November-ish time frame.
That's the way to do it.
Jungle Drive-In. I'm all bundled up like a blanket around me. My little 3D glasses are all crooked, and I was fucking glued to that, just sitting there. You know what happens to drive-ins, right?
Of course.
Right? Shit's rocking left and right. I don't even care, dude. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Right. And just when Jason fires the harpoon or whatever, that fucking arrow spear gun. That's what.
I got it. Who are you? What are you doing? Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.
Like, this is the best 3D ever, even though it's really bad 3D now that we know. But holy shit. And then to come to find out, didn't even think about it at the time. I can remember, man. I think I remember what I was wearing, man, which is weird because I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. But I remember, like, when he got the mask and he wore the mask, I was like, ooh, this is cool. I don't know if this would be like a thing, right? You know? Fuck, if we didn't know that's one of the most iconic. I mean, is it probably the most iconic mask in history?
Probably, and you have the most iconic name in horror history.
I'm a Jason. That's right, man. So that right there, I know it's not the best Friday the 13th. Everybody tells me that every time I mention this thing, but fuck, it had a lasting impact. And at that point, I knew my path in life, right? And which is weird because look, fast forward 40 plus years later, here I am, right? So, and we own a horror store. So, that was my freaking jam. And I was a bona fide tattoo it on me. I'm a horror fan, man. So
one thing you said that I wish everybody in Arizona or on the West could just we could just take them to the Northeast and put them in a drive-in in November in the back of a pickup truck because it's one of the coolest experiences. It's cold. It's definitely cold.
It's chilly.
But you'll never forget
it. It's brisk. Yeah, that's the word you can say. It's brisk, right? You could
probably see the closer you get to midnight, you'll see your
start seeing breath. But the mood is. There's no better horror movie watching atmosphere than that right there, right? It is just like you're so and just enveloped in this fucking movie,
right?
And it's what a great. And then you got your little box. You sit there and you got the speaker. It's like shitty fucking whatever.
Very
mono
distorted.
Speaker.
Yeah,
it didn't matter.
It works very crackly.
Oh fuck, that
fun,
was
man.
good, man. Take me back. All right, what do you got?
I wish I had a really cool story like that, man,
Yeah.
because that's something like you just never. You remember what you were wearing, which is
I
amazing.
do. Weird,
right? But for me, it was like I'm a big fan of when I was a kid, especially blind buys, right? So I bought my music that way. If I saw a cover that was really cool, I'd buy it. If I saw a movie that was really cool, I'd pick it up.
I like it.
I walked into a movie gallery, which was my local video store.
Movie gallery. I like it. Yeah.
And I saw the fucking Evil Dead 2 cover. And the skull, just everything about that skull speaks volumes,
That
right?
looking sideways skull. Yeah.
So check this out. I rent it. Again, my grandmother was so cool, dude. I rent this movie. And just the intro when she's dancing around in the front, I paused. It took me days to just start the movie again.
Yeah,
just her dancing.
Yeah,
was Linda or something.
Yeah,
but I could not move past that.
Fuck.
The keyhole, like everything. I just couldn't do it, man. So I want to say this movie took me 2 weeks in total to watch in its entirety.
Yes.
Granted, again, I get that it's a very funny movie now. Like there's a lot of good humor in it.
Right.
But at the time, I didn't find anything. Funny
No, I didn't either. Those 1 and 2 was just terrifying. Right.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was almost taboo if you like, dude, you got a VHS of what?
Sure.
Evil Dead. Holy shit. You
Right.
know, and it was So I know what you're talking about, right? And as a young kid watching this, because the same here, man. I don't probably around the same time. You know, 'cause I know at that point I was reading Fangos, man, and I was just whatever movie's in there, I'm going down to the video bar and trying to buy it, right? Or rent it out, and that was one of them. And that was like on par with Texas Chainsaw Massacre with me, how terrified I was. And I'd watch this shit alone, like a weirdo, right? Holy, what an idiot, man.
And two memories I do have with this is number one, it took me, I think you got like a 5-day rental.
Yeah.
The first 5-day period, I didn't finish the movie yet, even though I tried a dozen times.
That's amazing.
So we rented it again.
Yeah.
But then the second thing I remember most about this movie was just the fact that like it was like sheer like I never remember feeling that scared in my life, and I wouldn't go back. By the way, Evil Dead 1 I didn't find until like a year later.
Really?
Just I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Army of Darkness was way down the road, but little did I know that wasn't as.
No, that was like
Right.
that was an easy. You know, in
Sure.
fact, I try to, if someone I know would be totally turned off by an Evil Dead. But I want to get them in the series. I'll start them with Army of Darkness.
It's a good place
to
start.
know, kind of explain what's going on, and they do a good job explaining at the beginning too what the fuck's going on.
It's kind of like you do with TCM, right? You have if you're going to recommend that.
I'm not throwing someone who's fragile right into the fragile. It's Italian, right? Yeah, right into Texas Chainsaw Massacre 74. I'm going to probably pop you into Texas 2.
Sure.
Get some laughs, see the horror going on. You're like, okay, I can do this, and then work your way into TCM 1.
And then you can come see Caroline Williams this
August
August
26th, 27th, Gathering of the Ghouls. What a plug. Nice segue, by the way. Caroline Williams, Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 will be there signing autographs, signing boobies, signing whatever you want.
Oh, shit.
She better sign mine.
Yeah,
right? Right? So,
hey, Mark Togel.
Yeah, God, we got Melvin.
Lloyd.
Fucking dude. That's one thing I was going to put on this list was Toxic Avenger because it was one of my stepping stones as well.
I was so curious to see if you would.
If it was on number 4, I would put that on, right? Because I love Toxic Avenger, and if you're out there watching and you haven't seen Toxic Avenger, you don't know about trauma like we know about trauma, dive in. It's the dumbest shit you'll ever see, but it's the most funnest. It's not really horror. It's like, I don't even know what you call it.
It's trauma, baby.
It's trauma, right? They got their own subcategory in film, man. So
if this was expanded to a Mount Rushmore, would you go Toxic at number 4?
I have to.
You'd have
100%. Because it shaped my life, my childhood, man.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was fucking carrying mops, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be a 90-pound weakling.
Right.
And,
Sure.
you know, I don't want to turn out, get all ugly and fall in a vat of, of toxic waste, which, by the way, in the 80s, everything was toxic waste, all right?
Sure.
You wonder why I'm all fucked up right now, right? The biggest scare in the world was we're going to get nuked by the Russians, which is weird. We're probably still scared about that right now. Or a vat of toxic waste would roll off a military truck into my front yard, and I would end up stepping into it, and then boom. Here I'm the Toxic Avenger Part 2.
I love it.
So, all right, there you guys go. There's our top 3. So that was what got us into horror, but turned us into a horror fan. I want to hear it right below, guys. Put it in there. Put it in the comments below. What 3 films got you into horror? Regardless how old you are or how young you are, it doesn't matter. I want to hear it, and I bet there's some really rad ones. I bet there's stuff I forgot about up there.
I'm really excited to see this comment section. So
yeah.
light it up.
Let's do this.